Is it the impossible dream to get smooth frame rates using virtual reality in the complex and visually stunning Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024? Well, no, it's not impossible with a bit of effort and a bit of patience, and perhaps with a focus on one or two key settings. I'm using a Pimax Crystal Light, a fantastic option for great value, super clear flight simulation in VR. But its high resolution is demanding of system resources. So my plan is to use one key setting as a basis in my goal to get 30 frames per second in the most demanding of urban environments. And if you're ready now to move to either a Crystal Light or a Crystal Super QLED, then I've got good news for you. Until the end of January 2026, you can use the code LET'SFLY80 for a US $80 discount on one of those two headsets. And after that, the code LET'SFLY will give you 2% off. I've put referral codes in the video description. You don't need to use those, but if you did, you'd be really helping me and what I'm trying to do with this channel. So let's get into the settings and let's fly. And what a beautiful evening in Rio de Janeiro to try this. If you can get a good frame rate in these dense urban environments, and you'll see it goes down as I get in amongst these buildings, if you get a decent frame rate in here, you will get a decent frame rate anywhere, Manhattan, London, whatever. If you can get it working in one of these dense urban environments, that's kind of your ceiling. Anything else below that, you're going to be getting a healthy frame rate if you can make it work here. Right, so room lighting frequency, whatever works in your part of the world. I am currently doing this with a 90 Hz refresh rate. I could try 72 actually, but I'll leave it on 90 for now. I've locked off my max frame rate at 45 frames per second, half of that value. Screen timeout is surprisingly important in MSFS. In my approaches, can sometimes be very still, and if I left it on the default, which I think is 20, the headset thinks I'm not there anymore and it blacks out the screen because I've been so very still on my approach. Very inconvenient when you're coming in for a landing. So I have chosen to go 2 minutes there. Some people might go even higher. Brightness, everything here I think is, you can just leave with whatever you like. Controllerless mode, so I don't need it to connect to the controllers. Games. I have left it on normal field of view, and the most important one for me, I have decided in the Pimax Crystal Light to keep the image quality at high, or you can see it's just been left there on customize, which is 1. That means it's going to render all 2880 by 2880 times 2 for both eyes of its resolution. And the reason I think that's important is that I want to maintain full resolution on my panel right in front of me. And if I take this down to 75, which is medium or low, whatever that is, I start to notice the pixelization in the panel, which displeases me. I'd rather leave this at maximum on here and then adjust the settings in MSFS 2024 to get a nice performance at this highest resolution. If you're on a super, I think you could probably afford to take this down to 75 and you'd still be at something like Pimax Crystal Light level with the number of pixels being rendered for you. So if you've got a super, you could come down a bit lower on this, but for my light, I'm leaving it at 1. GPU upscaling sharpness, I'm just leaving all with default. Fixed foveated rendering is overridden inside Microsoft Flight Simulator anyway. Lock to half frame rate, I'm not sure if this is important when I'm already locking MSFS 2024 to 45, so I've left it there. All normal there. Home just stops the rendering of the scene inside the Crystal Light headset when it's not generating your VR experience in MSFS. I think you might as well have that off to save a little bit of graphics rendering power. Advanced, left it all here. Local dimming I've left on high. Pass-through, yes. Chaperone off so that it doesn't bug me by exiting my safe zone. I'm doing this in a seat. I don't need to be chaperoned. So that's what I've got here in Pimax Play. And here's what I'm using in the MSFS 2024 settings. I'm using FSR 3 balanced. I tried it on quality for a while. I found I got a bit of a performance boost using balance, so I went with that. Foveated rendering, I would think a must, surely, with a graphics card that's not on the very highest tier. So fixed foveated rendering inside the Pimax Crystal Light. Now, you might have noticed those buildings in the absolute densest part of the background scene there. It was getting down to about, I think, even 26 or 27 frames a second with a tiny bit of stuttering as well. So I think the first place to start, if you are settled like I am on keeping the Crystal Light at its native highest resolution, is reducing your foveated rendering scale. It's at 50 at the rightmost end. I could have probably shot that scene at 40 and it probably would have come out a bit better. Every 5 points on here seems to get me a few more frames, so that would be where I'd start there. I am not quite sure how much of a role this is playing in my current setup, so I'm just leaving it at the default 100. Max frame rate, not that I'm challenging that in this dense Rio de Janeiro scene. I have left that at 45 frames, so it's not going to render more than what's required at that 90 Hz refresh rate. Reprojection mode, I think unclear as well what benefit that is giving us in Pimax at the moment. World scale is that. Dynamic settings, I've actually just left off for the time being because I just wanted to kind of show you the effect of what it will be like with these settings here. Now, this will be the second thing that I would tackle after the fixed foveated rendering scale, is terrain level of detail. If you've got even less than a 7900 XT like me, then I would be getting this closer down to 100. Now, everything else here you can see I'm leaving on low or medium. It is not a somehow personal failure if you are not able to run everything here at ultra or high. Get real, people. Your headset is running at such a high resolution that you just don't need to have the highest level of detail or graphics quality with these smaller objects. You are getting so many pixels fed to you that it is not going to doesn't represent any kind of failure of you, your system, or Pimax, or any VR headset really, if you're running these at something lower than ultra. I have never run this in VR and thought, these light shafts look terrible at low. So, look, bump up the things that you think are really meaningful to you, but please, just accept that you're not going to get these on high and ultra. So that's how I'm running my Crystal Light. I'm pretty happy when it's all working nicely. I'll leave you with a shot of my flight past Christ the Redeemer, which was, of course, spectacular. I hope this has been real useful to you. Don't forget about that deal that Pimax is offering until the end of January 2026, $80 off if you use the code Let's Fly 80, or Let's Fly for a 2% discount after that point. So, happy flying, people. I hope I'll catch you on another video soon. See ya.